It was a quiet evening in the suburbs, the kind of night where families gather around dinner tables, children laugh in their rooms, and neighbors settle into the calm of routine life. But for one family, that peace shattered in a single terrifying moment. A sudden electrical spark in the living room turned into something monstrous. Flames erupted, racing across curtains, climbing walls, and devouring everything in sight. The house, once a safe haven, became a death trap. Inside, a mother clutched her two children, her voice breaking with screams for help. The father struggled with the smoke, coughing violently as he tried to find a way out. But the front door was already blocked by fire, and the windows were sealed by iron bars meant for security. They were trapped. The air filled with toxic smoke, thick and suffocating. Every second felt like an eternity, and with every breath, survival seemed to slip further away. Across town, the fire department sirens screamed to life. One of the men on duty that night was firefighter Daniel Hayes, a veteran with 12 years of service. He had seen flames take homes, destroy lives, and test the strength of even the bravest souls. But this call was different. He heard the dispatcher's words, "family trapped inside." He felt his heart pound harder than ever before. He knew that when a fire takes hold like that, you don't have minutes. You don't even have one full moment to think. You only have seconds. And seconds were all this family had left. When the trucks roared onto the street, the neighborhood was already alive with chaos. Neighbors stood on lawns, crying out in fear, their voices trembling as they pointed to the burning house. "They're still inside," someone screamed. The fire raged like a living beast, its orange glow lighting up the night sky, flames snapping and cracking with a hunger that seemed unstoppable. The heat was unbearable, even from across the street. Most would run away, but not Daniel. As his captain shouted orders to set up hoses and secure the perimeter, Daniel made a choice. He wasn't going to wait. He wasn't going to gamble on protocol when lives were hanging by a thread. Without hesitation, he pulled down his mask, adjusted his helmet, and charged straight toward the inferno. Inside, the world was chaos. Smoke clawed at his lungs, even through the filter. The roar of fire was deafening, like standing beside 1,000 trains. He moved low, crawling along the floor, sweeping each room with his flashlight, his voice cutting through the madness as he called out, "Fire department, call out to me." Then, faintly, he heard a child's cry. Weak, desperate, fading. It was coming from the back of the house. Every instinct told him to retreat. The flames were spreading faster, the roof groaning under the pressure of collapse. But Daniel pressed forward, pushing through the hallway where heat scorched his gear and sparks rained down from above. Finally, he burst into a bedroom, and there they were. A mother huddled with her two children, their faces streaked with soot, their eyes wide with terror. The father lay near the window, barely conscious, gasping for air. In that moment, Daniel had no time to think about his own safety. He scooped up the youngest child, a little girl no older than 5, and motioned for the mother to follow. "Stay low. Crawl behind me," he shouted. With one arm shielding the girl and the other guiding the boy, Daniel forced his way back through the flames. Every step was a battle against the fire that seemed determined to keep its victims. Suddenly, a beam cracked and fell, blocking the hallway. The mother screamed. The boy sobbed, but Daniel didn't stop. He rammed his shoulder into the burning wood, pushing it aside just enough to crawl through. His gear burned at the edges, the heat searing through even the thick protective layers. His vision blurred, but he kept moving. At last, he emerged at the doorway, the flames chasing them like predators refusing to let go. He passed the children into the arms of other firefighters waiting outside, then turned back. The mother was behind him, coughing violently. He grabbed her hand and dragged her through the final stretch until they stumbled out into the open air. She collapsed on the ground, sobbing with relief. But the father was still inside. Daniel could hear his captain yelling, "Hayes, stop. The roof's going to come down." But Daniel didn't listen. He turned back toward the fire, disappearing once again into the black smoke. The crowd gasped, certain they would never see him again. Inside, the flames were consuming everything. The father lay motionless near the barred window, his strength gone. Daniel lifted him onto his shoulders, straining under the weight, and pushed his way back through the inferno. His body screamed with exhaustion, every muscle threatening to give out. But in his mind, one thought repeated like a drumbeat. Not today, not this family. Not on my watch. And then, with a final burst of strength, Daniel emerged from the house, carrying the father over his shoulder. The crowd erupted in cheers and sobs as medics rushed in to treat the family. The mother clung to her children, tears streaming down her soot-stained face. She reached out to Daniel, her voice breaking as she whispered, "You saved us. You saved my babies." Daniel, his face streaked with sweat and ash, simply nodded. He didn't see himself as a hero. To him, it was just the job. But to that family, and to every neighbor who witnessed that night, he was so much more. The story spread quickly. News crews arrived. Reporters spoke of the firefighter who defied orders, who risked everything to bring strangers back from the brink of death. Across the city, people shared his name, his courage, his unshakable will. Parents told their children about the man who ran into fire when everyone else ran away. Weeks later, the family stood with Daniel at a community ceremony, their home destroyed, but their lives intact. The children clung to him like he was part of their family now. The father, still recovering, told the crowd, "We lost our house, but we kept what mattered most, because one man refused to give up on us." And Daniel? He stood humbly, shaking his head at the applause. He didn't want medals or fame. What mattered to him was simple: that a family who could have been lost forever was alive, laughing, and together. This wasn't just a story of fire and survival. It was a story of courage, of selflessness, of the kind of bravery that defines what it truly means to be human. Because sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear helmets, carry hoses, and run straight into the flames when everyone else runs away. And that night, in the glow of a house consumed by fire, Daniel Hayes proved that one act of courage can change everything, not just for a single family, but for an entire community that will never forget the night a firefighter stared down disaster and carried hope out of the fire.